I really like being with you here.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Hi, everybody.
Sorry
So
for any
sorry.
technical issues. We're not
Cool.
sure what's happening.
I'm glad to see some of you coming back in.
Yes, thank you.
Again, apologize for if you've been spammed with notifications. It's been a weird technical issue.
We really try hard not to spam people with notifications, emails, all that.
Hi, Randolph, and hi, Nick Penisato.
Hey, Nick.
It's wonderful to
Love
see
you,
you all
brother.
here, all these beautiful names. So, yeah, we got cut off before, but I'm glad that we're back now. Glad to have you all here with us. So, all that to say that um, when I look back at my life, I can see that like love at every single level of what love is and can be. Hi, thank you. I'm so glad. Is what my entire life is all about. Like, and so it actually wasn't a surprise when I learned a couple of years ago when I was first studying human design, which is complex and nuanced and has a weird history. Um, but I want to show you something that my human design incarnation cross is the vessel of love. And a couple of years ago, I was in a course led by somebody great named Ray Halder called Slow Burn. And it was a process that I was in to really support my process of reconnecting with my sexuality because I had been kind of like frozen and disconnected from some traumas that I had worked through a lot of layers with Seth, but there were some layers that I felt like I needed to work through on my own. And I was in this beautiful container for many months. And on one of the days, she invited us to just bring out art supplies and to just it was just kind of like an invitation to, in the like what normally would have been journaling prompts during the session, to create visual art. And this is what came out, and it was like about who our authentic self is. And this is what I ended up creating, which is one of my favorite pieces of art that I've ever made before. I remember showing it to like my mom's sweet Buddhist ladies who came over later that day to the house, and I was like, "Do you want to see this? I made a piece of art. Let's put it on the fridge." I was so proud of it, and it's the vessel of love. That's my incarnation cross. And I wasn't planning on. We didn't plan anything for this conversation, but we've been in the process of developing Be the Love, for years, and especially for this last week. And so just when you said what you said earlier, Seth, and I hope we're able to maybe stitch the videos together of just I don't know if you want to say it again for this video, but I felt so seen and so moved and so loved by you.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate
Well,
that.
I don't want to repeat myself just because I don't want to be redundant to the people who are here, but I'll share with you. Well, I kind of will repeat myself a little bit, but I was just reflecting that, well, I'll give a little more depth to it. Ganga is born into a spiritual lineage. Her father was in India with named Kurli Baba, where the entire dogma was.
We could do show and tell.
Yeah, Ganga is all about showing off some pictures today, but their entire dogma was love everyone. So Ganga is just
Neem Curly Baba, the guru of the lineage, who is Ram Dass's guru.
And so you were born into a family where everything's love. I mean, you could talk about bhakti briefly, but a real bhakti family where Ganga was just born seeing God in everybody and seeing the pure essence that exists in all beings and understanding that there's either love or there's an illusion.
Yeah, the illusion of the absence of love, which we get pretty fucked up by.
So Ganga's born into that lineage. I'm born into like a very middle class Jewish New Jersey family, and I bring that up because my family has a lot of generational trauma, going back to the Holocaust and beyond, where there really was no great models for what unconditional love is. As I've grown and done my own personal development work, it's very clear that the idea of love that I had was incredibly conditional, right? If I'm a good boy, I get love. If I excel at sports, I get love. If I get good grades, I get love. If I do something that makes my mom smile, I get love. And don't get me wrong, it was a very loving household and especially with the elders and my grandparents, who's incredibly nourishing and loving. But it wasn't as unconditional, the field wasn't as abundant as what Ganga was raised in. So then in the course of my, um, 35 years leading up to meeting Ganga and my own personal development as well as spiritual work, I just continued getting clearer and clearer and clearer on I really don't understand what love is or how to be love or how to show love. But I really wanted to understand it. I really wanted to learn. And so much of my growth was really better understanding that. So leading up to the point of meeting Ganga and doing a lot of work on myself and really understanding that I just need to be that unconditional, unbiased, to see the pureness in everybody version of myself.
Yeah.
And again, the name of my essay this week is Love is a Skill. And for somebody like me who is a personal development, uh very passionate about my personal development work, it's like, oh, if I look at love as a skill, I actually understand how I could get better at it.
Instead of just like feeling bummed that like you don't have enough love and you don't receive love enough or you haven't met the right person.
Word
Like
love
a victim.
itself was always, I feel like my understanding of love and my relationships with people using the word love always had a hook with it. It always came off as like a level of manipulative, kind of using it on or over a person. And I know when I met Ganga before, like she didn't even think I was straight, and I told her my New Year's resolution was to be love. Like I was very
Like
clear.
you get it.
I was very clear that I wanted to be the embodiment of love. I wanted everyone that I come into contact with, I wanted them to feel loved and seen. I wanted my presence and my enthusiasm and passion for life to really come through, that it's nothing but love. But at the same time, I had a lot of my own tethers from my upbringing attached to it.
Mhm.
And I know after we met on New Year's Eve and it was Valentine's Day.
No, it was a New Year's Eve.
No, we met on New Year's Eve.
Oh yes, and then
And then it wasn't until Valentine's Day, and we had like an intense start of our relationship in a positive way. We don't get into that now. But I remember being like, man, I love this. I love this woman. I love this girl. And really wanting to tell you that I loved you.
and I could feel it, and I could feel it coming. I think I'd always said I love you first, and I feel like I could feel the significance of this relationship. And
Well, my whole thing was like, I've told people I loved them in the past.
yeah,
The way I felt about you was nothing compared to how I felt about those other people. This is not about other people. That was my own state when I was in those relationships, just to be very clear. But I was afraid to say I love you because I felt like it diminished the true feelings that I had for you and the depth of the love that I had for you. So I wasn't planning to bring this up today, but I'd be most happy if you want to share the code word that we came up with.
can I tell? Sure.
Yeah, you show, sir. I'm
So
just gonna go.
we were tripping on mushrooms together in the garden, and it was a really beautiful day. We live in Florida, so February in Florida is like you know, chilly air, warm sun, perfect combination to be outside. So, yeah, I just remember we were tripping on mushrooms together in the garden, having a beautiful time, and I was like, I could feel it wanting to come out of him, and it wanted to come out of me too. But there was something about that the dynamic between us where I was like, I want him to say it first, and I'd never felt that way before. Um, and I feel like there's just so much playfulness between us now and then. And so it was like that kind of energy of just kind of like, ooh, like, and even astrologically, we've learned from our Jyotish astrologer that you have this like thing of like actually of being really good at being the first at something. So maybe I was picking up on that. But I was like, I think energetically just like kind of trying to pull it out of you for so much of the day. And you, you I don't even know exactly why you said it, but
Uh, I was
we
like,
developed a code word.
I was just upfront about it. I was like, I want to say I love you, but it doesn't compare to my actual feelings for you.
But I think the way you said it was you just said words.
Well, yeah, but the code we developed the code word for the love we have for one another.
And it's the name Mandy Patinkin, which
Mandy
is
Mandy Patinkin.
and Seth's mispronunciation of that. I think we'd been joking about Seth has a speech impediment from childhood that shows up sometimes still. And we were talking about the name Mandy Patinkin, which you struggle with. and and so it was in the larger category of like words, like can't always do words, but you know what I mean. And I think that's what was coming through is like, you know what I mean. It's there. And there was no question that it was there. And that was it. That was the true thing for me. And that was like the lesson for me in that day is just like, you can feel it and you don't need the language for it. It is so there. It is so visceral and real and like tangible when love is there. And I just, it's not that we don't have difficult moments or arguments or moments where like the love between us isn't maybe like the most dominant note in the moment, but it's always the bass note. It's always there. And I feel so stable in that when there's conflict or when there's difficulty or when we're like struggling through something, like I feel so grounded in that. And that's and I feel like that goes back to the origin moment of our first ever conversation of me knowing and hearing from you that you are committing to being love. And it wasn't about me in that moment. It wasn't about any other person. It was about you and who you were committing to being as yourself. No external conditions, no external circumstances. And that solidity is something that you've cultivated. You've earned that.
It's a skill that I
It's a skill.
practice, and that's where I wanted to kind of come full circle. Like, I talked about my upbringing and my idea of what love was, and then I kind of jumped through my personal development journey to meeting you. And the whole point of the essay from this week and the course that we have to offer that we're so incredibly passionate about it was the aha moment for me, from my dear friend and coach, she had corrected me today, who presented this question to me. I was clear that I wasn't ready for romantic love, that I was focusing on my work, my career, and my own personal development, and doing all the things that I needed to do for myself in order to be the best partner ultimately. And I knew that I couldn't do those things on myself and be the partner I want to be in a relationship. So I was really committed to my own growth and evolution. And y'all might have read it, but just to say it again, my coach, friend, therapist, told me to write down everything I'm looking for in an ideal partner, and I literally was like, well, "Yeah, of course, I've done that dozens of times. I've got a wonderful list of this, ideal vision I have for partnership." And then she very stoically asked me, "Does that person want to be with the man you are today, right now?" And it's not that I was a bad man or anything, but if you looked at that list, it was radically clear all of the projections that I was putting onto another person and all of the places that I could level up my integrity and my calendar to be the love that I was looking for in somebody else. And I literally spent a year focusing on filling my own cup up, which again, in a lot of ways, is just how you operated in the world, period. So that when we did meet, we both had already done our own work. So often in partnership, it's like, well, you complete me. And, like the Jared Maguire, like, you complete me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's beautiful, but I'd like to think I complete myself. And we talk about, you could quote the poem, but we talk about how we're two pillars, and we're autonomous, complete whole people.
We
So
get to meet each other from that
to meet
wholeness.
each other from that
Yeah.
wholeness. Yeah.
Yeah, and then from that wholeness, I mean, people say to us a lot of the time when they learn about how we do all of our professional work together and we're obviously married and we're parents together and everything that like they can't imagine working with their spouse, day in and day out or, all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm like, I literally can't imagine not doing that. Like, yeah, I want you to be my partner in everything. And not that that is how it needs to be for everyone whatsoever. But I think that I just think that that's a really critical piece of it is that from our wholeness we complement one another, but we're not seeking completion from one another. We really are coming from wholeness. I'm kind of curious, and if any of you have any questions, or want to be a part of the conversation,
We could bring
even
people in.
yeah, even if you want to raise your hand and like chat with us, or ask us questions that way, or contribute like your own stories, it's very welcome. We want it to feel like you're in a room with us, which I know is kind of hard in this medium, but hopefully you feel it. Um, but I one question that I have for you is I'm actually curious because it was obviously before I met you. What are some of the things that you did during that year?
Well, the biggest, the examples that always come up is, and I've said this to you dozens of times, but the example that always comes up is I remember being like, me and this partner, like we're spiritual beings and we meditate and we go to yoga together, which is funny.
I guess we do.
Yeah, but it was like I was just like projecting all of these qualities and attributes onto, so often as humans, we have this thing where it's like, well, when this happens, I'll do this, right? Like when I get my journal, I'll start writing every day. And it's like, there are 1,000 ways you could write right now. Like you don't need the perfect journal, but so there's a part of me of like, when I find the person, I'll be all these
Mhm.
things. So for me, it was like, well, stop waiting to find a partner to do those things with when the reality is why. And I was doing those things, just not to the level that I felt in my bones I wanted to be doing.
Like what things?
I just
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, yeah, sorry, like going to yoga and meditating and
Yeah,
spiritual things like that.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
the dimension that's alive in me right now. But
Mhm.
but I'm sure there's a lot of other things, and really, it all comes back to um like looking for my blind spots, looking for where were the places, conversations, things that I was doing where if I was really honest with myself, like would that ideal person be at this bar with me, on a Friday evening or like just it helped me. The question that was provided to me helped me see where I was projecting things that I wanted to embody more, but I wasn't living up to, as well as helped me see any of the friction points that were in my life that would stop me from meeting the ideal person that was on that piece of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I mean, I think even like if we look back and some, people, clients and friends of ours who are looking for partnership will often ask us, like, they're struggling on the apps and they're struggling to find love in all the ways that we're told to find love by the current capitalist system that we're in right now. Um, and we don't have great advice for people with the apps, but when it comes to the apps, because we were just like, start doing the things that you want to do.
Well, that's the thing. It's like using my example. It's
Yeah.
like, so I like committed to like a more regular yoga routine. I committed to a consistent meditation practice. I committed to, you know, turning the knob on some of my fuckboy things down,
Down.
down. And as a byproduct, not only was I filling my own cup, not only was I internalizing and embodying the things I was projecting onto somebody else, but I was in places
Yeah.
more often where that ideal partner would actually be found.
And I
And in a way, that's how we met.
totally, and even when I think about the breadcrumbs of leading up to our meeting, you were at a coffee shop that I really loved,
Mhm.
and you ran into my best friend who had been your student previously, your yoga student previously, and then she invited you to a series of things that led to you and I meeting.
Mhm.
But I'm even thinking in retrospect, like the odds of us meeting at that coffee shop were definitely turned up in that season of our lives as well. Like there were so many different moments that it could have clicked as well because of the things that were being cultivated then. And I think that that's so beautiful and so powerful. And we've had a number of friends and clients who have gone through this process and who have really begun to live from this place and in this way. And it's amazing the way that they meet people, and they meet them usually through through mutual friends, through the web of connection that that creates that common ground that is always actually there. And it's interesting, one of our friends who her testimonial is actually on the landing page for Be the Love, with a gorgeous photo of her and her husband on their wedding day. Um, when she was finally connected with the man who would become her husband, she realized that she had multiple mutual friends that could have introduced them, and she asked a lot of them, like, why did you never think to introduce me to this guy? And they had a number of different reasons, but she's reflected on how just like she would not have been ready, and her her enthusiasm and love for the process that we've created is has been so big, and has been a she's been a big reason that we decided to make it into something that other people
Yeah.
could take into their lives without such a deep
Can
process.
you keep going and just describe the process a little bit to people? Just
Yeah, so
abstract.
Be the Love. Originally it was a Google Doc with like a kind of a journaling process, but it's always very important to us that things be not just a cognitive exercise, but a very deeply embodied process. And also I'll just share this, and we can share this when we share the video again as well. We actually just lowered the price to $36. Because we just want it to be an easy yes for as many people as possible.
And it
We want
doesn't
this
matter if
to make your
I know
life better.
we're talking about like me being single doing the work, but we can't emphasize enough. Single, partnered, it doesn't matter who you are. You'll tell about the program a little
Yeah,
bit, and I'll
I'm gonna do
be
it
obvious about
tonight,
it. Yeah.
actually. So the process is that we've in the version of it that is the product that we've created, that anyone can go ahead and begin now. Is we have a little bit of an orientation, so you get some of the theory and some of the grounding and the framing behind it. Then you'll drop into a 15-minute meditation,
16.
16-minute meditation, that will help you really deeply just connect with your body, with your heart, with being really deeply
We
present.
call it a stabilized state of awareness, where you drop into a more parasympathetic, open state, but at the same time, you're able to kind of release some of the unconscious bracing that we all live with in order to tap into a deeper felt sense. So it almost the writing ritual part of it, it's not so much cognitive, it's more like your hand just starts magically moving and things come out of you.
Yeah.
I just can't emphasize that part enough.
Yeah. And the first thing that you will write about is what do you have to offer to
What do you bring into a relationship?
what do you bring into a relationship? And that, for some people, that's very easy. For some people, it's more challenging. For some people, to identify what you bring into a relationship is a lot harder than saying, this is what I want to receive from someone else. But it's also so beautiful, and it's such a rich way to begin a really, um, like, it strengthens your sense of self. It strengthens your sense of the value that you offer into the container that you're calling in, or that you're wanting to strengthen. Because again, as a married couple, I'm going to be going through it tonight. Seth has been deep in the production of it. We try to live this as much as possible. We have couples who are married now because of this process, who are going to go through it again alongside one another. It's something that you do with yourself. You answer the questions for yourself, but you could do it in the same room with your beloved, if you want to. And yeah, so we begin with writing what you have to offer in a relationship, listing out as many things as you'd like, as many things as possible. And again, that's like nourishing and strengthening yourself from within. Then the next step is to identify how you want to feel, what you want to experience in relationships. And it might be, I want to travel the world with someone. Or it could be, I want someone that's really comfortable staying home with me on the weekends, and cultivating a nourishing home nest. It could be a combination of those things as well in different seasons of your life. Um, you begin to identify not like I want these qualities in a person, but this is what I want to experience together. And there are so many love manifestation things that I've seen that really just start with like my list. I want a tall man who's rich, and like all of these like surface level things about the person, and not about the feeling, not about the experience that you share. And that's so incredibly essential. So then, after that first phase of the writing ritual, you will take a short break and do what we call a micro return practice. It's like a 2 to 3 minute,
It's
like very brief little meditation that helps you drop more fully into your just
that
connect
same.
back into your center
Mhm.
and into your body. So it helps you to integrate the insights that you've just surfaced in your body, and it helps you to come from that center when you begin the next stage of the writing practice.
Yes, which asks, so in the first stage, it's how do you want to feel in a relationship, and then in the second writing phase, it's a little bit more specific of like what's the perfect partner, right? If we could wave a magic wand, kind of like that ideal list that my therapist
What are they like if
to,
they're fulfilling this
yeah, like
desire?
what is that? What are if again, if you could develop the perfect relationship, what are all of the things you're doing? And it's a little bit before it was how do you want to feel? Now it becomes a little bit more tactile. And you could get as specific and clear about that person, the places, the things, just all of it. And then from there you move over to the next column and you go through that list and you check in with yourself and ask yourself, okay, is this a deal breaker? If I don't have this in a relationship, is it like a complete deal breaker? Or are you flexible about it? And then you go through what you wrote down and then you kind of check in if it's a deal breaker or negotiable. And then there's little it's a spectrum. So there's areas in between. And then where really some of the magic starts to unfold is if you're currently in a partnership, you could go through your current relationship and ask yourself, are these needs being met? Are these desires how we're showing up for each other and living in our life? And it's radically clear.
And you can do that with past partnerships too.
Yes,
So if you're going like,
that as well.
for lack of a better term, like a postmortem on your last relationship, and you're wanting, especially if you're
Or
like, okay, that relationship, whether it was good or bad, I want to have clarity. I want to process it, metabolize it so that I feel complete with it so that I can see it clearly and then move forward. It's really
it's a great opportunity to see like, oh, no wonder that for me, I never looked at one past previous relationship. I kind of just synthesized all of them
Mhm.
and it becomes like radically clear of like your blind spots. And it really helps you take personal responsibility of like, oh, no wonder this relationship didn't work out. It's very clear that we were trying to make these things that are when I'm in a open, clear-headed space, they're deal breakers, yet our arrogance, right? Like thought
trying to make it work.
trying to make it work and I've worked with couples who have had to sit down with one another and say, "Oof, we got some deal breakers here." And that's why when couples come to work with me and this offering Be the Love is like Ganga said earlier, it's a Google Doc that I've used for the last 5+ years in my one-on-one work. But I sit down with clients on the first intake session and I'm like, I can't guarantee I'm gonna like fix or heal your relationship,
Mhm.
but I can guarantee in like a 2-hour process, it'll be radically clear if it's savable or not. And I don't say that from a place of coldness or callousness, but a place of honesty. And as we're talking about love, I mean, it's radically clear to me that sometimes the most loving thing you could do to somebody is just kind of admit that it's not a great fit. And now we have like paperwork and documentation to prove that. And the reality is doing this process, like Ganga said, people come back to it repeatedly. It's so beautiful to constantly come back to it. One, because we're growing, evolving, and changing. So it should change with our own growth. But also it's so validating to come back to it and be like, oh, we're doing all these things, right? Like as human beings, we always think it's going to be better. We always think like the grass is greener on the other side. And sometimes it's so beautiful to just kind of look at the things you wrote in the past and be like, oh, all of these things we're doing in our life,
Yeah.
and maybe I just need to appreciate it more instead of thinking of like the horizon and the next step.
Well, and in
That's yeah.
every way, what we want, what we long for in our lives, what we long to call in and to bring into our lives, so often there it's something that we already have on some level, or we could have access to on some level, but we didn't know how to fully embrace it, how to fully be present with it, or how to like lean into what those seeds are, of the thing that we're really desire and long for in our lives, to actually welcome them, to actually acknowledge, like, wow, okay, like this blessing is here for me now. Like, even with our business, we are working really hard and really diligently to make our business, provide for us and support us and our family in a way that that is really flourishing. And there was a point at which we were really working hard and kind of burning ourselves out to that end. And somebody that we were working with was, asked us, she was like, if you had the full success that you are all working really hard for, how would you spend your days? How would you spend your days when you have that incredible level of success that you know is possible for your work and that you're working so hard for? And it was a really clear answer. It was like, I would spend more time outside in the garden. I would be more present with my child. I would, all of these things. And you were like, okay, uh, I need to start doing a little bit more of that every single day and allow the spaciousness of that to inform the right choices that I need to make for that ultimate success to actually be brought about. And it did begin to shift some really, really important things for us, when we began doing that. So, this principle is really transferable to a lot of different areas of life. There's a lot of there's patterns in everything, and everything is connected. And when we show up to with curiosity, to understand the patterns of our lives a little bit better, and honestly, like, to be honest about it from an embodied place, and then have the tools to integrate that information and that insight into our bodies. Like, when and to recap the whole sequence, because you shared the different steps, in between, there's these steps for writing, and then in between there's these micro return processes of just like a brief meditation that you go through, to help you come back to yourself, to your center, before you begin the next part of writing, because we don't want it all to just be this like energetic flurry in your head and in your hand. I think that many people are familiar with, like, the mania that can kind of come from a flurry of excitement and insight. And I think that for a lot of people, that's becoming more and more common with AI, of like, I have this amazing idea, I have this brilliant thing, like, it's pouring out of my mouth, it's pouring out of my little fingers, I'm getting the feedback, it's so wonderful. And it stays in that realm of like of the head and the hands, and it doesn't move fully into the body. It doesn't move fully into the heart and into your full being, but you can feel it when you're having an insight and you get full body chills. That's your fascia. Like, that's your fascia rearranging itself a little bit, I think, right?
Yep.
Physiologically. It's your whole body, like, is shifting some subtle, deep patterns, and you can feel it.
Well, that's the thing is you could understand something cognitively till you're blue in the face, but until you're embodying it and living it and feeling it, you're not changing your patterns.
Yeah.
And things don't change until you change. And, not to be grim, my goal is the opposite. But in order for there to be change, there needs to be a level of discomfort. There needs, because you have to push into a growth edge.
Yeah.
So with the somatic components of all of our offerings, the goal of that is to to have more understanding for why the discomfort is, what the discomfort is, and then to be able to drop into more parasympathetic open states to kind of surrender into that discomfort to then it becomes meta to like find comfort in the discomfort as you kind of lovingly intentionally push into that growth edge. And again, the entire Be the Love is designed to do that in process.
Yeah, and that's the nature of all effective nervous system work. It's not the nature of all the nervous system work that's out there, but it's not about just trying to make yourself feel comfortable and feel like wonderful all of the time. It's about expanding your capacity to be with the full range of experience and to be able to be responsive to what life presents you. And, in being the love, in practicing this and living it, it doesn't mean that you're going to be exempt from heartbreak. It doesn't mean you're going to be exempt from arguments or difficulty or anything, but it means that you're going to be holding this like steady, deep, strong center of and knowing who you are so that you can meet the other person with wholeness, so you can recognize them when you meet them, so that you're not just reproducing the same trauma bonding pattern and meeting someone who's just like your mother or your father, again and again and again. Um,
And
but actually being a mature human being, connecting with another mature human being in love and choosing to create a life together on your own terms.
mhm.
There's nothing more beautiful or empowering or wonderful than that. And
And the Be the Love process will give you peace of mind,
yeah.
which is so rewarding. It'll be
Yeah.
clear as day in a hour, 2 hour process. You'll have data of, where you have not been in full integrity with love and where you can improve and evolve on. But again, that peace of mind that the process gives you is absolute paramount.
Yeah, that reminds me of the work that I was in the year before we met, and that was 2016, and everybody's doing their 2016 retrospectives. I went really deep on mine, and it's brought up a lot of really strong memories. And one of them was that for me, throughout that year, I kept on, whenever I would pull tarot cards, every single time I would pull the Three of Swords, which, if you're familiar with tarot, is
Right.
uh, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Libby.
Thank you, Libby. Beautiful. If you are familiar with tarot, you know that the Three of Swords is often considered the heartbreak card. Some, including the deck that I use, some decks have like it's like a heart with three swords, like penetrating it, which is pretty scary and pretty intense. And throughout that entire year, I kept on pulling it, and I was in a relationship at the time, someone I cared for very deeply, um, but a part of me knew that it wasn't gonna last. It wasn't gonna last the year. And so every time, but I didn't wanna know that. This is to your point about, like, having that peace of mind. I didn't wanna know that. I didn't wanna face it, and I, like, literally, I remember one time, pulling a spread and seeing that card and, like, throwing it across the room. I was like, "I don't want that. I don't want heartbreak. I don't wanna end this relationship. Like, I don't want my heart to be broken." And, when I did finally end that relationship, I realized that my heart was broken the whole time. And the cards are, just like a mirror for things that maybe you're not ready or able to see yet. And I had been seeing it as like it's coming down the pike, like it's coming, the heartbreak is coming. And by the time I ended that relationship with so much intentionality and so much love and so much care between us, um, we I didn't feel heartbreak anymore. It was like the heartbreak resolved because I was approaching the end of that relationship again from that sense of wholeness. It was like the breakup began to mend my heart, and I felt deep, deep peace from that. Um, and I feel that I'm curious to hear from folks who go through this. Um, about all kinds of results that it brings to your love life, whether it brings a beginning or an ending or a deepening or a strengthening or a recalibration. The point is that our freaking love lives need maintenance and they need our awareness and they need our care and they need honesty and they need embodiment, especially in the times that we're living in. The essay that I just published this weekend, just yesterday, was like about love is the ground. Like love is the substrate, the ground from which the rest of our lives unfold. And I think that, if you have an unhealthy love relationship, in your life, there is nothing more draining, more exhausting, and more counterproductive to you being the person that you need to be in this world than being stuck in a love relationship that is not truly loving, that is not actually feeding what you really need. And I feel very passionately about people being resourced by the love that is available from within themselves, from the people around them, and from their own relationship with the living world. I think that love is literally the nature of reality and is always flowing, is always available to us. But when you're stuck in a braced state of agonizing heartbreak that you are not actually receiving the nourishment that you long for, it can be really hard to connect with that universal flow of love that is always available from the divine, is always flowing in your own body, is always available in the living world, and is probably available in friendships
Well,
as
that's
well.
what I wanted to jump in and say, that the Be the Love process isn't just for
Yeah.
relationships. It will transfer into every single dimension of your life,
Yeah.
period. And just to simply put it, it's a self-inquiry on how you currently are showing up in relationships, how you previously have, and then how you want to be in the future. And when you synthesize all those, the third and final phase is checking in with yourself and seeing what's my work to be done, what's our work to be done, and what's their work to be done. And that's delicate, and we give instructions on how to do that without turning it into blame or shame or anything like that. But it is the most empowering thing in the world to really be able to look at yourself and see where your blind spots are, where your opportunities are. And when you make those shifts, even if you just focus on the mind column, when you make those shifts, every dimension of your life will transform.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it reminds me of the one year after you and I met on that New Year's Eve. I had a big breakthrough about the idea of personal responsibility and really getting clear about what is mine to take care of, and trusting you to take care of your side of things, your side of the road, and getting really clear about what is our shared responsibility, but very it's so important to be clear about like this is my piece to own, and I'm owning it with clarity and confidence, and I'm not going to try to overfunction or emotionally caretake or take on responsibility for something that's actually not mine to own. It's so clarifying.
It's so empowering
Yeah.
instead of trying again,
Forever.
trying to how many relationships you're like, well, this guy's perfect if I or this person's perfect if I could just change this or
Yeah.
fix this or whatever. And it's like we're just denying the inevitable. And, as Don Miguel Ruiz in The Mastery of Love so beautifully put, you could the most well-trained dog will never meow. And I feel like this Be the Love process makes it so radically clear on where are the opportunities to evolve and improve, and sometimes what are the things that you just kind of need to surrender and accept.
Yeah, release expectations that will always disappoint you.
Yeah.
And you might end up, you might still be with someone, but if you can have that radical acceptance of who they are, that's
And
such a
have the
gift.
insight to see of like, all right, well, even if the relationship's not going to evolve, I'm committed to my own evolution. And I know one of the more gratifying moments in my career was a woman coming to work with me and
Yeah.
giving me all of the reasons she wanted to work with me, and every one of them involved getting an X back. And I remember listening to her, asking some questions, and then very lovingly say, "Well, it's such a pleasure meeting you, and we are not a good fit to work together." And that turned into her having a little bit of a breakdown, and me being able to just hold that space for her and let her move through that process, and then just kind of check in with her. I'm like, okay, if you're committed to working with me without the expectations of getting this partner back, but filling your own cup and just remembering your wholeness and coming back to your wholeness, I'll work with you. But again, like I don't want to hear about this ex, right? Like he's not part of this process. This is for you and your growth and your development. And she was like, yeah, whatever. But I knew she still was doing all of this to get this partner back. Fast forward 3 months later, our conversations turned into, can you believe he's been texting me? He's been sending me pictures, and I want nothing to fucking do with that
And
guy.
she had all the results she wanted to,
Yep.
but because of that,
She realized
he knew that she was completely out of his league and totally over him.
realizing that.
Yeah,
So that's definitely one of
the
the
best.
really validating parts of, yeah, of my work in this work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful. Do any of you have any questions that you wanna ask
Yeah,
or
we said it before, but we want these spaces to feel like we're all hanging out in the living room together, just hanging out. So if anybody wants to jump on camera, if anybody has a question to drop in the chat space, we can't emphasize enough just how open the space is, and we want to hear from y'all.
Mhm. Yeah, and, I emphasize this everywhere I can, but I just really love collective wisdom. I really believe in collective wisdom, and so that invitation is always coming from a place of knowing that we all grow and learn and connect more with our own wisdom when we connect with the wisdom of others. So we always welcome that coming through from you all. And if no one does have anything that they want to offer or ask, we can wrap up in
Yeah.
a minute.
One thing that's just alive in me, just to speak in this space while we're all here, in case anybody's thinking it. But if you're a couple and you're thinking about going through the Be the Love process, y'all could do it in one purchase. You don't have to buy it separately. One of the biggest things with the Moon Academy that we're so passionate about is not doing personal development alone in a vacuum. That there's so much magic and richness and just utter growth in going through the process with the people in your life.
Mhm.
So we just can't emphasize that enough.
And if you
Yeah.
do, and if you have the means and do purchase it separately, that's nice, and we're grateful too. And with
Right.
that, we will, when you sign in to Amuna, you have your own account. You have your own profile. We can message each other. When you sign up for Be the Love, you also will have access for 3 months to our office hours. So we can support and deepen that work with you. And yeah, what is Libby?
Libby has a great question,
Great.
and let's see if we could bring her.
Great. Yeah, invite to join.
Yep, I'm going to invite you into the conversation, Libby. Let's see how this goes. Let's see. We're seeing if Libby's able to connect, and
I'm reading.
we're going to give her. Yeah, you can answer.
So I can
You want to
read the comment in the meantime. So open to jumping on camera or just dropping it in here. What do you see as possible in relationships or in relationship? So many people are holding on to old paradigms, I believe, and also afraid to release what's right in front of them. Can you speak to trust and surrender in the process? Perfect timing. Hi, Livy. Okay. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you great.
Okay. Well, I think you just read my thing, so that captured it. And then yeah, I just named trust and surrender. And I feel like it's very vague what I just stated, but it's also something that I'm navigating myself and then almost like wanting to tap other people into. I do some relationship coaching. I'm still navigating my own relationships, so I stick to more creativity while I'm still growing in a lot of these areas. But because so much of my other work and creativity is about trust and surrender and agency, but also being willing to let go because literally new paradigms are opening to us. And if we just are like, I'm trying to make something new work in the structures that exist, we miss out on like literal new information is trying to come through to us and help us while we're doing this, even though it's really hard. Like many of us are the first in our families
Yeah.
to try to be in emotionally healthy relationships,
Totally.
to literally try to communicate and like it's hard. Like like there's not people who've shown us and we're actually trying it in real time. And I think for so many of us it feels so clunky because you can go and master or work at so many like you can go to the gym. There's so many workout guides. There's so many like things that are physical and tangible. There's so much assistance for. And then the inner world is like a jungle landscape.
Yeah.
And there's tons of spiritual guidance that exists right now that keeps growing. But like people who actually want to be embodied and connective and be here in the real and not bypass it. Like, holy shit, it's hard, but it's so worth it and so cool. But yeah, I'm like in my own life and world trying to like remind myself, my lovers, my partners, my friends, people I collaborate with, like our relationship, like we're figuring this out. This isn't a mat, like this hasn't been done yet.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to speak
Yeah.
to that and ask what you've noticed.
Gosh, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I
Yes, all of that.
I feel what you're saying, in our relationship and very much also in our business, which can't be separated. I feel like our business is like an entity of our marriage, of our relationship as well, because what we're trying to do, what we are doing with our business, and Libby is a member of our year-long cohort, Begin Within, and so wonderful to have you in the space with us. Um, what we're doing I feel like with our love and as with the product of our love being our business, it's all stuff that's never been done before. It's all stuff that we're just kind of like, I think we create we create this world between us where we know our values so deeply. And when I say values, I specifically mean these two religious principles that we both talked about on our first date ever, which is tikkun olam from the Hebrew tradition of repairing the world, and bodhicitta, which is the motivation to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all beings from the Buddhist world. And both of us talked on our first date about how both of these principles are very important to us. So from really, really knowing our values very, very deeply, and by the way, in Begin Within, the next moon drop this coming new moon, which is a big eclipse day. It's the entire next month is entirely focused on values. So when you really, really know and understand your values, and you have shared values that are at the core of your partnership, I think that you can really create a world together, and you can create a worldview together, and you can create a really clear, coherent, robust set of principles from which you are operating and living. And that allows and enables you to kind of creatively imagine what your lives can be like, what your partnership can be like, what your work can be like, what your creativity can be like. And I love that you're speaking about creativity, because it's all creativity, right? Like love is the work of creativity. Making love is like literally the most creative act ever. It's how humans are created. And all of it is creativity, and any form of creativity, I think, it nourishes our own spirits and our own souls, which enables us to show up for love even more as well. And I just feel like we have a really creative dynamic with one another, and that looks like so many different things. Like, people are always surprised with how much we watch TV, and it's a really fun way for us to decompress. But we also like pause every 15 minutes or so, and we Google things and we talk about stuff, and we really engage together in constructing an understanding of the world that we live in, of these narrative worlds that other people are creating, and from all of that, we expand our conception of what's possible, to the point that I think it's inconceivable to me um, to even consider that we could operate from a lot of the limited beliefs that a lot of people are operating from about what's possible in the world, what's possible in our institutions, what's possible in a marriage, all of these different things. Um, and and that world just gets to keep on growing and growing and growing. And yeah, so I love this question. I love that. I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, just to bring it to a little bit, like come back down a little bit. Yeah, I think the be the love process, and I mentioned before, when you kind of get clear on what your non-negotiables are, and like, all right, this attribute in a partner is like, this is a deal breaker. If I don't have this, it's not. When you get clear on like the spectrum of like what are you flexible about, what are deal breakers, it really gives you peace of mind that you're living up to your values. Because so often it's like I said before, it's like, well, this person's really great, but these things aren't. So you almost like change yourself or manipulate your own way of being in order to make that person fit.
Which
But
makes you violate your own self-trust.
exactly, and that's connected to values. So having that peace of mind that these are non-negotiables, and it really does alter your field, and it really does make you more magnetic to the right people. And at the same time, it's like beautiful to have an idea for the perfect partner while remaining unattached to that they're going to be, blonde or this or, X amount of height, whatever. But when you know what your non-negotiables are, you have that peace of mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and the only other thing coming up is how important it is that each person in a relationship is doing their own work, right?
And it's holding space for the other person to grow.
Exactly.
And to think about growth not as you're becoming a different person, but as people's growth process is like
Coming back to your wholeness.
it's you're figuring out your authenticity, and people's authenticity can have a funky winding path, like we all, or many of us might know people who, go to a retreat, go to Burning Man, go to, whatever, and they come back and they're like harder to live with, they're harder to be around, and they think that they're enlightened, and like they think that they have improved so much, and you're like, you're kind of more of an asshole right now. And that can also be a part of the journey of self-discovery. It can be kind of a loop-de-doo kind of a path. But if you can if you can say, okay, like, listen, I know that you're on this journey of figuring out yourself, and I love you, and I want you, and I want to know your authentic self. And I'm curious to see what the ride reveals. And sometimes the ride reveals, again, some incompatibilities where you're like, okay, I love you, and I'm going to let you do that on your own. And I'm not going to be a part of it anymore. Like, sometimes that is a beautiful, loving thing that is possible. And I think that there's an amazing philosopher, Forrest Landry. I think he's one of the most brilliant people alive today. And I am very honored to consider him a friend. And he writes so beautifully in his book, The Effective Choice, about how I'm not going to get the exact verbiage right, and he's very precise with his words. But he talks about how basically, you have to, the degree to which you want to open yourself up to joy is the same degree to which you have to be willing to open yourself up to sorrow. And it's about, you have to widen the aperture, and you don't know what's going to come into the aperture. And I really feel that, that's such a huge real thing with love. And I think anyone who's ever experienced deep heartbreak and grief, especially grief around death, has experienced that, like, you have or at least I will say that I myself have experienced that when faced with heartbreak, there's a choice between building up scar tissue and calcifying and putting walls up. And that's one choice. And then the other choice is allowing the heartbreak to actually break your heart open to, like, every person who's ever had this feeling of heartbreak, to the entire world that feels so deeply, and to be willing to feel that, to be willing to feel the extent of the power of love. And that's what grief is. Grief is evidence of love. Grief is literally evidence of love. And so when we're willing to, even open ourselves up to the possibility of a love relationship ending and allow ourselves to feel that grief, then we can appreciate the beauty of what is present in that moment, or what had been shared at a previous point even more. It's really so beautiful. So we've been talking for a long time. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. Also, I just have to say there's no like mute button on my side, so I'm sorry. I'm a very I'm a very expressive listener. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. And it really, you can still hear me, right? It goes a
Yes.
little choppy when I talk. Okay. I'll just say, in my own like one-to-one work with people, I started using this phrase this year, the world of you. And that came from me trying so many different modalities in psychological spaces, spiritual spaces, and eventually, relating, because I really align with the Jewish principle that you named. I don't know the Hebrew word for it.
Yeah.
Okay, to heal the world. I'll get the correct word. The word shalom, though, period. Back when I was like just researching, like, before I was even knowing what was guiding me, but I was like, I need a word for peace that's like all encompassing kind of peace. And then I saw that that word actually means like that quality of peace, you know? Um, wait, what was I saying with that? Oh, that I share that value. And so a part of loving the world and loving the world in the state it's in involves curiosity. You know, it involves being able to say, I might study the world from this aspect or this aspect or this aspect, but at the end of the day, I can't just understand it through a single frame of intellectual study. I have to just continue to get to know it. And that's kind of the kind of knowing that I've begun to work with when I work with other people and work with myself. Like I'm going to keep getting to know the world of you. And it's just language that I gave to be like, you're uncovering, you know, you don't have to get why you act the way you do to start loving yourself and new paths open. So that's my own lens. But like, as you were speaking, I was thinking, wow, I'm hearing you describe for you all when you said the world that you all create together, the practice of creating a world together.
Yeah.
And then also I think there's something that's so hard that I just want to speak to that excites me, which is like, it's also very hard to build new cosmologies, new frameworks for belief when we're breaking out of like this, what for me, I was evangelical Christian background and, you know, learning how to say how do I conceptualize the world? And so I still have like a lot of defensiveness sometimes when I'm meeting people. I have like a gut reaction, like you're going to try to control me. You're going to try to make me think a certain way. And to hear, to get some guidance around, I did already sign up for the course, by the way, but to get some guidance around like how to actually be honest with values and make space for someone else to be honest with theirs. And then when you, Seth, also were sharing about non-negotiables, I know I love another couple, Leslie Rogers and Tani Tolley, who run the Light Dark Institute. I don't know if you guys know them, but I think you'd get along. Okay, I'll try to connect you guys. But Leslie told me last year, like, you can't know your yes without knowing your no.
Yeah.
And it was news to me to hear that. Even as someone who's worked with, like, I could just feel like how much repulsion is still happening in my system when I'm dating, because I am doing exactly what you described, Ganga, of like negotiating the terms off the bat, breaking self-trust, and then like resenting them.
Yeah.
Because I fear that self-honesty. That I fear someone won't exist on the other side, if I'm actually honest. So we won't let this go into full inner coaching, but I want to bring some vulnerability because it's helpful and I'm excited to learn. And I think I'll leave this chat though, so that my audible responses aren't all.
I love this, and I think, Libby, you already RSVP'd for next week's office hours, so I look forward to continuing the conversation then as well.
And I'd love to speak just to something that Libby just mentioned, and it was a former client of mine hired this like super expensive relationship coach to work with to find her beloved. She was a older, successful woman, and their advice, which she completely was mortified about, was she made a profile on a dating website, and then she was given the instructions to say yes to the first 5 people to ask her out, whereas normally she had a really intense filter on the people reaching out. And she went on the next 5 dates with 5 random people. She said every single one of them she would have said no to in the past, and the first 3 were she was justified in her past discretion. And then on the 4th date she went on, she ended up marrying the guy, and she said she never her discernment would have said no, but she made herself open and available to say yes, and she was able. So I think there's some wisdom there.
Well, so I think that speaks to, like, again, and this is what you surface in Be the Love, is like understanding what your patterns are. So if your pattern is, I think, Libby, you were saying, I think is the way that I've often entered relationships as well, where you're just kind of like, I want to be such a full yes to them, and you lose connection with yourself, you lose self-trust. Like sampling ice cream. Yeah, that's great.
Exactly,
You think of dates like that. It's like, I don't need to commit to this, but let me taste it. Let me see. But yeah, if your default, and this is where understanding trauma patterns is really, really helpful, because a lot of us have an internalized fawn response that seems like it's a part of our personality of like, oh, I'm agreeable and people love being around me. And I'm just so nice to be around, and I say yes to things because I'm so nice. And this is like a thing that a lot of women have internalized, and a lot of men as well. I think Seth has a lot of feminine traits, and definitely like the fawn
Well,
response is
my thought
very present.
response is, yeah, if I could make my mom happy, I'll be a good boy and
Yeah.
things will be safe and good in my world.
Yeah.
So I want to make everybody happy and be a good boy. And
Yeah.
I want everybody to like me.
And so if you know about yourself that you have these patterns inside of you, then like, yeah, getting in touch with that no is so powerful and so important. And I remember, somebody telling me years ago that like every no opens the door to like 100 more possible yeses. And every yes shuts the door to other possible yeses. And so, to really hold those sacredly, as like you really are shaping your reality. And when we look at like manifestation technologies, like systems like Lacey Phillips, to be magnetic. Um, if you look at just kind of like the operating logic of the thing, it's like you get clear on what you want, you get you do practices that help you connect with your authentic self, um, and then you make decisions based on a higher self-regard and discernment of whether or not this is actually fulfilling the thing that you are looking for. Like it's not that magical. It's quite rational. And and that particular system is more or less effective for different people. But I think when you understand those principles, you can kind of then adapt them and understand them in your own life a little bit better. And that's a big part of why in our pedagogy we try to emphasize everything is education, where we're trying to be very clear about the principles underlying what we're teaching. Embodiment, where you feel it very and practice it very deeply from an embodied place where your own internal experience is the primary authority, on who you're becoming and on the choices that you're making. You're not just getting it from us and taking our word for it. And then empowerment, which is when you're bringing it into action, you're bringing it into form, into your life, on your own terms, in your own way. And we really encourage people to make these frameworks their own. Libby, I love what you were saying um, about like that idea of making a world together, because it was just recently that we began even talking about Emuna as like a pocket universe, where we and it really is like this manifestation of our marriage, but it's like made into this pocket universe that right now exists online, and over time will probably exist in physical worlds as well, but exists online and in the lives of every single person who's a member of our community, who's a member of our academy, who's a member of that world. And all of you are creating it with us. Every single framework that you kind of take in the language and you make it your own and you bring it into your life and you come back and share with us how it's shaping your world and your family and your, relationships and everything. Your business, your career, everything. As you cultivate what we share and what we teach in Amuna, you are co-creating that pocket universe with us. And there's a pattern integrity, of what we've created, and like making this like little sphere, um, of this like microcosmos that we've created, where you can cultivate integrity within that pocket universe, and then bring that embodied integrity from yourself with your own discernment, with your own embodiment, and making it your own out into the world. And that is basically our theory of change. There's other dimensions to our theory of change with ecosomatic cybernetics and all of these different things that we can and will share over time. But it's
Yeah, our biggest passion is for
yeah,
people to take our frameworks and transcend their life experience
bring your wisdom in.
and then, 1+1=3.
Yeah.
And we truly believe that.
Yeah, yeah, we really believe in the emergent properties and the collective wisdom of all of us together. That's why we call our work personal development for collective evolution. And we really mean it. And we really are committed to that being real, and that being true, and that being a core principle in the development of how we develop ourselves and how we develop what we create. And something I've just been really reflecting on today is just that how everything we create, like we don't put anything out there that's half baked. We don't put anything out there that we haven't really deeply tested with ourselves and with other
And we
clients.
live it, embody it, breathe it.
And we don't create anything that isn't something that we don't plan on returning to like every few months or every year. Last year we had somebody going through Sex, God, and Money, and which is our summer course that we teach. That's 12 weeks, and it's amazing. And I hope that some of you will join us. And we weren't even, I think, halfway through, and he was just like, when are you guys running this again? I want to go through it again. Like I'm so eager to go through this again because it's so rich and I can tell that the layers will just keep on unfolding in it. So everything that we offer is cyclical and is something that we ourselves are students of. We learn so much every year from Sex, God, and Money. We are so excited that this year, this first inaugural beta year of Begin Within is going so beautifully. There's so many amazing connections happening with people. And and like we're going to be doing it every single year, and we hope that others join us every single year because it's the infinite dimensions of ourselves can infinitely be explored and cultivated. And we want to grow with an actual community. We want to create an actual community, not a cult. We want to be growing all together, and I'm really excited to see how everything that we create unfolds in people's lives. Yeah,
Beautiful. Yeah.
I create this. Yes, beautiful. Thank you for the comments. And Simon, I love what you had said previously. I think you said what grief is love in motion. I feel that really tenderly. Thank you. And thank you all so much for being here and
we want to be in
us.
Yeah, thank you for being love with us. And we just want to be in connection and harmony. So don't ever be afraid to DM either one of us, reach out.
Yeah.
We just want to open our doors to you as much as possible in this digital realm.
Yep. And one last thing, I just want to communicate something again, which is that we've lowered the price for Be the Love. We'll make a couple of announcements, but we don't want to spam you all. So if you're here, I just want to make sure that you catch it. We've lowered the price for Be the Love to $36 because we want it to just be an easy yes and an easy experience that really enriches people's lives. And also, we have decided that we have crossed over the beta threshold of our course, The Edge, which is a really incredible, powerful course on becoming your own somatic sexual healer. And so we are going to be raising the price on that after Valentine's Day. If you want to do both The Edge and Begin Within, you can save $36. You can save the price of not Begin Within, of Be the Love. You can save the price of Be the Love. That and not have to pay for that. You can still receive Be the Love by The Edge. It's a bundle that's on the checkout page for Be the Love. And there's a payment plan. There's all kinds of options. If you need a different payment plan, you can message us and we'll set you up. But we are going to be raising it up to be in the $600 range after Valentine's Day. So it's going to be significantly more expensive than it is right now. And at $300, $363. Right. Yes. And so we just want to make sure that anybody who has had their eye on The Edge can take action before we raise the price, because we really just don't want somebody to be like devastated or disappointed or have been planning on it and not. But you can reach out to us to let us know. And we always offer extended payment plans with zero interest because we really don't want money. Money's a reality that we need to live with and contend with as people in the world and parents. But we very, very much don't want money to be a barrier to people accessing our work. So always feel welcome to message us and to be in dialogue with us. We want to be very human and treat all of us very humanly in the complex times that we're living in, and make sure that we're all feel really supported and connected in the ways that really serve us. So, yeah.
Thank you. Beautiful.
All right. Thank you all so much. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Welcome to February, month of love.